All right.
Good morning. And welcome to all who are here in the sanctuary or connecting with us through technology or watching this after the fact. You are welcome here at People's Church. My name is Robin Miesler-Kubinick, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I serve as the president on your board of trustees this year. Worship today is led by our minister, the Reverend Karen Bringleson, with worship associate Shelby Benyon. Good. Assistance from a congregant Patrice, oh dear. I did the thing where I forgot to ask how to pronounce things. I know, that was terrible of me. Leverance. Judy Michelin on piano, Matt Wild on internet outreach, and our special musicians brought to you by the People's Church Choir. All people of goodwill are welcome here at People's Church. As an official welcoming congregation and a congregation which passed the 8th principle, we celebrate and honor your sexual orientation, gender expression, gender identity, as well as race, ethnicity, and cultural background. We also celebrate and honor journeys with faith and doubt, comfort and discomfort with money, bodies of all sizes, shapes, and disabilities, and age and generational perspectives, along with so much more that makes all of us who we are. Whoever you are accepted exactly as you are. A special welcome goes out to any newcomer joining worship today. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office, or if you're here in person, you can fill out the green card found in the pew rack in front of you and put it in the offering plate as it gets passed later in the service. Online participants are welcome to chat with everyone gathered on Zoom following worship. And if you have an order of service, you're invited to look at the back and consider if there is something you'd like to get involved with here in this vibrant congregation. Of special note, today, after service, is the 19th annual Chili Cook-Off. Come on down to the Andre Room after service to have a taste and cast your votes. And the following announcement, oh great, I get to read this again. I tried so hard last week. The following announcement is brought to you by People's Gen Z youth. Hey fam, you want to be Sigma Riz this season? Donate to our mitten tree. It's chill. We just need hats, gloves, mittens, scarves, and other cozy drip for local kids. If we collect 50 items, Celeste is going to throw a bowling party for Faith Formation, which is straight bussin', no cap. Get your donations in by December 15th, bro. Finally, we extend a great big thank you to the many volunteers who made today's gatherings possible. To the volunteers in today's Faith Formation program, which were Megan Jones and Lou Wilcox. To Bill Hart on the sound system, greeters Kathy Juba and Beverly Hannon, and to the kitchen crew headed up by Jill Jones and Cheryl Oakes. So now, with a sense of gratefulness for this time of being together, I invite you into a moment of awareness that will begin and end with the ringing of our singing bowl.
Must be winter in my heart. There's nothing warm in there at all. I miss the summer and the spring, the floating yellow leaves of fall. A million colors fill my eyes, the glowing candles and the stars. Calendar says July 4th, but it's still winter in my heart. They say flowers bloom in spring, red and gold and blue and pink.
nothing warm in there at all. I miss the summer and the spring, the floating yellow leaves of fall. The air in there is frigid cold. I don't know what the reasons are. Calendar says August 1, but it's still winter in my heart. They say flowers bloom in spring, red and gold and blue and pink. They say seasons turn in time, theirs are changing, why won't mine? It must be winter in my heart.
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 I don't know what the reasons are.
It must be winter in my heart. It must be winter in my heart.
Thank you, choir. As we conclude this month of exploring the practices of repair, we offer you these opening words from the Reverend Kathleen McTeague. You who are broken-hearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in.
You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in.
You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in.
You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in.
This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life.
The place where you are called by the world's need, here we offer in love.
Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose.
Come in.
Let us worship together. While Susan and Isla come forward to light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you online to light a candle in your hearts or one nearby. And all of those who would like are welcome to join in reading our chalice lighting words, as together we say, may the brokenness and beauty we find in one another create peace in this space, fill our hearts with love as we create worship together.
All those who wish to are invited to join me in saying the words of affirmation of this church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you to lift your voices in song for our gathering hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body and or spirit.
may be seated. Unless, of course, you'd like to come up and have a little conversation with me and Ms. Patrice. We have some things we want to share with you, including a book, but also some really cool ideas and conversation. Hiya, how's it going? Take your time. So, do any of you, either up here or out there, know what this month is? November, good start. Anything else? Thanksgiving, what'd you say? It is National Native American Heritage Month. That's right.
It's fall.
It is fall.
It is?
It did turn to fall.
Do you or anyone out there know another term for Native American? Who do we mean when we say
Indigenous.
indigenous? Another term? First Nation?
American. Indian.
Indian. Okay, that's the one I'm looking for. Sorry. Okay. And do you know what state we live in?
Iowa. That's right.
Very good. And do you know how this state got its name? Does anyone out there? From the Iowa tribe. That's right. So, and I am a member of the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska. And so I asked Karin if I could share this book with you today.
And this book is called When We Were Alone. It was written by David Robertson, who is a member of the Norway House Cree Nation. And it's illustrated by Julie Flett, who is a Cree Métis illustrator. And it goes like this. Today, I helped my Kakome in her flower garden. She always wears colorful clothes. It's like she dresses in rainbows. When she bent down to prune some of the flowers, I couldn't even see her because she blended in with them. She was like a chameleon.
Do you see?
Nakome,
her
why do you wear so many colors?
Well, no seesum. When I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I wore many different colors. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they gave us different clothes to wear. All the children were dressed the same, and our clothes weren't colorful at all. We all mixed together like storm clouds.
Why did you have to dress like that?
They didn't like that we wore such beautiful colors. They wanted us to look like everybody else. Do you see how they all look the same? You're watching up there. But sometimes in the fall, when we were alone and the leaves had turned to their warm autumn hues, we would roll around on the ground. We would pile the leaves over the clothes they had given us, and we would be colorful again. And this made us happy. Now, I always wear the most beautiful colors.
After I helped with the flowers, we went over to the back gate. There were vines covering the gate, and they reached all the way to the ground. When my Kakome turned to fix the latch, I saw that her braid hung almost as low as the vines. It was like she had a tail. Nakome, why do you wear your hair so long?
Well, no seesum. When I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I grew our hair long, just like our people have always done. It made us feel strong and proud. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they cut off they cut off all our hair. Our strands of hair mixed together on the ground like blades of dead grass.
Why did you have to wear your hair like that?
They didn't like that we were proud. They wanted us to be like everybody else. But sometimes in the spring, when we were alone and the grass had grown so long and thick in the field, we would pick the blades from the ground. We would braid them into the short hair they had given us, and we would have long hair again. And this made us happy. Now I always wear my hair very long.
After my Kakam had fixed the latch, I followed her to the birdhouse. There was a bird flying through the air like a jingle dress dancer. What? She fed the bird and whispered, "Na pina yis mikiso ta misi kityan ta masikin," which means, "Here, little bird, eat, so you will get big and strong." What? And her words sounded just like a poem. Nakom, why do you speak in Cree?
Well, Nosisim, when I was your age, at home in my community, my friends and I always spoke our language. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us speak our words. All the children used their strange words, and we didn't understand them at all. Our voices blended together like a flock of crows.
Why did you have to talk in their language?
They didn't like that we spoke our language. They wanted us to talk like everybody else. But sometimes in the summer, when we were alone and our teachers weren't anywhere around the place we were, we would whisper to each other in Cree. We would say all the words we weren't allowed to say so that we wouldn't forget them. And this made us happy. Now, I always speak my language.
Why did they speak different languages?
Why did they speak different languages?
Good question. Different groups of people who grow up together and live together develop their own languages.
Like Espanol.
That's right. That's right.
What means Spanish?
That means Spanish when we say it in English. Yeah, cool.
I know Spanish and sign language.
Very cool.
After our gardening work was done, I sat with my Kakome in the backyard. Her brother came over and sat with us. He comes over all the time. We drank tea and ate Bangkok. The tea was hot and sweet, and the bannock was moist and warm and melted in my mouth. My Kakome and my uncle talked and laughed like children. Nakome, why do you and Nokomis always spend time together?
Well, Nosisim, when we were your age, at home in our community, being with family was the most important thing. We played with each other, did chores together, and shared everything. But at the school I went to, far away from home, they wouldn't let us be together. My brother and I were separated like day and night.
Why were you and Nokomis separated?
They didn't like it when we were with family, because when we were together, we thought too much of home. But sometimes in the winter, when we were alone and we were sure that nobody could see us, we would find each other. We would take off our mitts, and in the crisp, cold air, we would hold hands so we could be with each other. And this made us happy. Now, I'm always with my family.
And we like to hold hands.
Here we
Thank
are.
you for coming up and talking to us and learning with us through this book. Do you have any other questions? Not right now, but you can go sit back down with your family now. Adios.
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 As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to support and assist one another in our ministries, remembering that love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Our living tradition draws inspiration from direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder, as well as from sacred, secular, and scientific understandings that help us make meaning and live by our values. Today's first reading was adapted from a UU Faith Formation program on justice making entitled Heeding the Call. Delegates at General Assembly in 2007 made a resolution to encourage their congregations and the Unitarian Universalist Association to research their own and the association's history. The charge was to uncover our links and complicity with the genocide of Native peoples, with slavery and the slave-based economy, and with all types of racial, ethnic, and cultural oppression, past and present, toward the goal of accountability through acknowledgement, apology, repair, and reconciliation. The resolution requested that congregations and the UUA report back in subsequent general assemblies. In the process of researching, two people, Reverend David Petty and Ted Fetter, uncovered a little-known part of our association's history. They found out that in 1870, President Ulysses S. Grant invited Protestant denominations to take over the management of Indian reservations and agencies. The American Unitarian Association, AUA, took charge of the district covering the Colorado Reservation occupied by various tribes of the Ute. The hope was that not only would the religious managers be less corrupt than some government officials, but that they would also civilize the Native American population. What the two researchers discovered was mismanagement and misunderstanding. The situation eventually erupted into violence and the forced removal of the Ute from their native land. In response to these findings, at the 2009 General Assembly, the UUA president, Bill Sinkford, offered an apology to the Ute tribe, saying, "We participated, however ineptly, in a process that stole your land and forced a foreign way of life on you. We ask your forgiveness, and we promise to stand with you as you chart your way forward." And now we're going to hear some reflections from Patrice.
My name is Patrice Leverins. I am Iowa and Sac, a member, citizen of the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska. My pronouns are she, her. I'm grateful for this time with this congregation in the ancestral home of my tribe during Native American Heritage Month to reflect on the grief inflicted on Indian people by the federal Indian boarding school policy. On October 26th, President Biden made a formal apology for the federal government's role in the establishment and administration of Indian boarding schools. Our president called them and their policies, quote, "a sin on our souls," end quote. I rarely watch TV in the middle of the day, but on August 26th, I decided while eating lunch I would watch. I happened to catch the president being introduced as he visited the Gila Indian Reservation in Arizona. His address and apology was being aired live on C-SPAN. It was the network that came up when I turned the TV on, which was strange because I typically don't watch that network. But there it was. I grabbed my phone and texted my father, sister, and son to let them know they too would be interested in hearing what the president had to say. You see, our family and tribe and many friends from other tribes had childhoods and families damaged at these schools. The very first entry for the word repair in the Oxford Languages Dictionary is verb, to fix or mend, a thing suffering from damage. To fix or mend damage, one must first recognize and accept there indeed has been damage done. When We Were Alone addresses some of the forms of damage endured at federal Indian boarding schools at a level that children can understand. Loss of individuality, identity, home, family, and language. The book doesn't mention the profound loss that comes from the destruction of culture and religion. If the author wrote of the true depth of loss and horror of abuse in a book for children, it would surely be considered abuse on the part of any adult who read it to a child. The mistreatment was that severe, the grief that profound. The author uses the words, quote, "at the school I went to," when the grandmother shares bad memories of the stripping of her identity. I believe changing the word went to either was sent or was taken would be more accurate. Like the grandmother in When We Were Alone, my father's great aunt Josie was sent far away from home. In 1880, more than 1,000 miles from her home on our reservation in present-day Nebraska, to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the first federal Indian boarding school. It was the school's second year of existence. This institution wasn't anything like schools we know today. Deliberately styled after the military, it was extremely sparse. The children, some as young as 5 or 6, were required to participate in military-style drills and dress in military-style uniforms. Josie and the others had to conform. My grandfather, Leo, his experience with a federal Indian boarding school was short-lived. He was taken far away from home as a young teen to the Sac and Fox in Iowa boarding school on our reservation in Rouleau, Nebraska, about 12 miles from his home. He ran away, making it home before nightfall that same day. Grandfather would have known about running. It wasn't uncommon for Indian children, especially boys, to run. Our tribe practiced what the late Senator John Lewis would have called good trouble. Brenda J. Child, an Ojibwa scholar, writes in her book, Boarding School Seasons, American Indian Families 1900 through 1940, quote, "The Iowa tribe of northeastern Kansas developed a reputation among federal Indian boarding school administrators for taking in runaways. In 1809, just a few years before my grandfather ran, Superintendent Pierce of Haskell Indian Boarding School, Child Rights, quote, complained that the Iowa Indians harbor the Indian boy runaways and do everything to assist them in avoiding arrest. If caught, the runaways were arrested and severely punished. There were more than 500 federal Indian boarding schools in the more than 150 years of the government's boarding school policy, and hundreds of thousands of children taken from their families. I'll say that again. Hundreds of thousands of children separated unwillingly from their families and communities. Many generations of grief. Children sent to federal Indian boarding schools suffered the most, but their families and tribal communities were certainly part of the collateral damage. My father never attended a federal Indian boarding school, but he has vivid memories of when, as an 8-year-old, his family delivered his older sister, a teenager at the time, to Haskell Indian Industrial School, nearly 100 miles far away from home from our reservation. We now know that this type of trauma, especially to children, changes one's DNA. Telomeres are shortened, increasing the risk of disease and premature aging. Those changes impact future generations. According to the CDC, American Indians and Alaskan Natives have the lowest life expectancy of any ethnic group in the United States. Does that surprise anyone? Our Indian communities struggle with poverty, abuse, neglect, violence against our women, and substance abuse at an alarming rate. Is it any wonder when you see what this one policy, the Indian boarding school policy, what this one policy, one of many policies intended to annihilate Indian people, has done? It should not be up to the victims of abuse to undertake the repair of that damage. That said, many in Indian country are working toward repair. I'm grateful for the more than 25 years my father, Pat, served our tribe on Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act issues, and I'll shorten that to NAGPRA. NAGPRA is a federal law enacted in 1990. Work done by tribes through the use of NAGPRA is now allowing tribes to have remains of the children who died at these boarding schools finally to be returned to their tribes for repatriation and reburial. Repair. I am grateful that as a reporter for the Associated Press for 11 years, my son, Dan, wrote many feature stories and editorials focused on Indian issues from an Indian perspective, including one on Carlisle Indian Boarding School when he was the Associated Press bureau chief in central Pennsylvania. Repair. He then went back to university, earning a law degree, becoming an expert on federal Indian law, including working for the Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Native American Rights Fund. And I'll shorten that to NARF. He was NARF's expert on the Indian Child Welfare Act, which I will shorten to ICWA, and has written numerous amicus briefs to state and federal courts and to the Supreme Court on Indian issues. Dan coordinated Indian country's amicus brief to SCOTUS on the recent ICWA case, which was ruled in favor of Indian rights. keeping Indian children with family and/or tribe whenever possible. Repair. Dan now teaches Indian law to the next generation of Indian law students at the University of North Dakota Law School. Repair. I am grateful my family opened our home to an Indian child who was in the foster care system. Repair. With gratitude for the protections provided by ICWA, I volunteered as a court-appointed special advocate for Indian children in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, the capital of the Cherokee Nation, when I lived there. I spent enough time in both the Cherokee Tribal Court and the Cherokee County Court to see ICWA in action. I worked with 8 children from 2 tribes as the courts worked toward finding the best placement for each child. Repair. In the matter of the abuse and attempted genocide of Indian people, the UUA asks that we acknowledge, apologize, repair, and reconcile. Those of us in this room did not commit these atrocities, but we are all living with the consequences. Please give some thought to how you might share in the work of repair. Aho.
All who are willing are invited to rise in body and or spirit to sing together, "There is a Love."
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love.
Now we turn to we.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Thank you all. There is often a focus on gratitude this time of year. For this Thursday is called Thanksgiving. More recently, however, I've begun to call it Thanksgrieving as a way to acknowledge the grief along with the gratitude of this season. Yes, let's acknowledge the grief caused by the atrocity and many more. The stealing of land, the removal of children from their families. That grief is real. The Department of Interior earlier this year released maps showing over 450 locations of the federal Indian boarding schools. And the map on the front of your order of service has only 25, so that was a different snapshot in time. So imagine Patrice's family stories multiplied exponentially. That grief is real. And yes, Patrice invited us to acknowledge the damage done, acknowledging the grief, and she also urged us to work toward repair. Imagine the gratitude we might feel when real repair and reconciliation takes place. The grief and gratitude. Damage does not have the final word. We are a people of both damage and repair, both grief and gratitude, held simultaneously. And to me, the key to holding the both and is connection. You may recall such connection in the book we read. The connection with the leaves and the grasses, the language and the family. If the damage and the grief of Indian boarding schools began with disconnection from community and family, disconnection from place and culture and language, then the repair and gratitude begins with reconnection. How might we practice connection today? Let's begin with simply connecting to our breath and bodies. So I invite you to get as comfortable as you can, whatever that means for you. You might notice your body being breathed. You might notice where one part of your body is connecting with or touching another part of your body. You might notice where your body is connecting with the seat beneath you, or the feet connecting to the floor, and ultimately connecting with the earth. Reconnecting with the land is a way to remember our interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And so sometime this week, or I'll give you 2 weeks if you want, I invite you to take a look at the insert in your order of service. There is an exercise for truth giving. And this is a free write exercise where you get to reflect on 7 questions. Each question gets 1 minute of reflection where you get to write or draw or dance or doodle or move. And the questions are, I stand upon, I come from, home is, my people are. When I think of land, I imagine. When I think of water, I picture. Blank knows my name. And insert a name of a place. Blank knows my name. So I actually have extras of these if you want to take them with you. We also have the opportunity to have these conversations with each other. So you spend some time reflecting and connecting with yourself and your relationship with the earth. And then you spend some time connecting with someone nearby. In that way, by building connections, we are building repair and bringing in an opportunity for gratitude to go along with the grief. May you find room for connection, making space for both grief and gratitude in the days to come. May it be so, and amen.
Each week, we participate as a community in the spiritual practice of generosity. The offering we collect today will go to support the mission of People's Church, which is leading compassionate lives through spiritual growth and just action. You have the option of putting cash or a check into the offering plate being passed here in the sanctuary, or you can also mail a check to the church, donate online at peoplesuu.org, or use the Vanco mobile app. And now, in a spirit of generosity and compassion, this morning's offering will now be gratefully given and lovingly received.
Oh, gathered here to celebrate, my spirit's burning low. Instead of serving, now I wait. The breath of worship's not too late. Breathe, let the embers glow.
Though have been losses on the way, a parent, partner, friend, at times I need to grieve and say, I have enough to bear today. Be near and help me mend. The stillness strips the mask away, exposes lonely hearts. Self-pity must not have its way. I'll live my life from day to day, and now the healing starts.
Thank you. Thank you all for the ways that you bring generosity to life. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. As we enter into a time of prayerful meditation, I invite you to silently name your great joys and deep sorrows, your griefs and your gratitudes. For those who would like to come forward in silence, you'll have two options, either a candle to place in the sand or a stone to place in our water. And I invite all those who would like to come forward now and light or place a stone down the center aisle and then return to your seat down the side aisle. have to pick one or the other. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. As you're willing and able, please join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, mystery of the universe, which tears us apart and brings us together. Help us always remember the love that is at the center, always pulling us closer and closer to one another and to that which is whole and holy. May we take courage in one another, in stories of resistance, in communities coming together to make real change and real repair and real reconciliation in this world. In the name of love and all that is holy, blessed be. Let us sing one more time together. Number 125. This is called From the Crush of Wealth and Power. It is our hymn of the month, so you may recognize it by now. Please rise in all the ways that we do to sing together.
From the crush of wealth and power, something broken in us all, wakes the spirit's silent tower, leading with a poignant call. I know my wounds again. Even now our hearts are weary of the friend we need so much. When I see the pain you carry, shall I with a gentle touch mind all your wounds?
Before we enjoy one last gift of music, I offer you this blessing. Know always that you are whole and holy and worthy of belonging. Go forth to make connections, to build repair, and to share the love that we practice here, knowing always that you have enough and that you are enough. Blessed be, and go in peace. And we're going to extinguish the chalice while the choir comes forward.
You're invited to read aloud our words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And now we get the beautiful postlude.
We rise, humbly hearted rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise. Surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise. Oh.